Good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day if you're watching this on Valentine's Day. If you're not, I hope you still stick around. If you're watching this a while later, doesn't matter. I hope you all are having a fantastic day regardless. And what better to go with Valentine's Day than a movie about chocolate? So I watched Wonka, which shout out to everybody that requested me to watch certain things. That's why I went ahead and watched Wonka. And I thought, since it was close to Valentine's Day, I might as well just go ahead and watch it. And I will say, at first, I was kind of put off by this movie because I had little knowledge about it. I didn't really care about it, wasn't really into it. I know a lot of people were crazy about Timothee Chalamet or Chalamet. I forgot how you say his name. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry to the stands that might be watching this. But I wasn't really a fan of him. Haven't really watched anything. I haven't even watched Dune, which I know is probably like a pop culture sin at this point. But yeah, first time I've seen anything with him in it. Wasn't too excited. Did not even realize it was a musical until he started singing. So I kind of jumped to conclusions early on, but I will say, to ease your worries, I was pleasantly surprised by Wonka. And for reasons I will now get into and quit keeping you here at the first little intro bit. So, without any further ado, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, your chocolate, and let's jump into it. Roll the intro. Welcome back. Now let's go ahead and jump into the premise of Wonka. Wonka is fairly new in town and looking for a place to sell his chocolate. But first, he needs to survive in the first cold night, which is shown by him kind of being like a Mary Poppins type character and pulling all the necessary things to make hot cocoa out of his hat. Is he supposed to be like a Mary Poppins type character? I don't remember if Roald Dahl has written the Mary Poppins books. I don't think he did. I think those were done by a woman. I think there's actually a whole movie about it. Anyways, to survive the first cold night, he's trying to make himself a hot cocoa and it freezes. And that's when he meets a man who offers him a room for free, takes him back to this little boarding house, and then he's tricked into a contract where essentially he has to work his debt off in their laundry washing. I don't know what else to call it, but he's basically doing unpaid labor to pay for things like using a bar of soap or turning on the water in this contract. So now he's in debt for a one-night stay and has to stay in now the servants' quarters and meets a whole cast of characters who are also the victims of these same two people. So now Wonka is not only new in town and trying to sell his chocolate, but he's also trying to sell his chocolate to get him and everybody else out of debt. There's issues with the major chocolatiers in town, which, of course, Slugworth is one of them. We get into that kind of drama. We get into the drama that he has with basically the residents of the washing house. It's a musical as well. So there we go. There's the premise. Now let's jump into everything else. I will say that this was a fairly well done story, and while at times I did find Timothee Chalamet's Wonka to be a little bit cringe at times, I found that he did grow on me. And Timothee Chalamet, I will say, is a talented actor. I have found out he can particularly act out being devastated while also acting a little bit optimistic at the same time, which was good for the story that they wanted to tell in this particular movie. So I did find he was quite a good fit for the role of Wonka. Although I will say already, I do not think he was my favorite, but I do think Timothee Chalamet did a good enough job, and he clearly did care about this role. He clearly cared about being the role of Wonka. He clearly cared about it because I think he actually, and this is another point, is there's a lot of influence to Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. Throughout this, we get the score for Imagination in both the background as well as Timothee Chalamet singing it at the end. I think Timothee Chalamet was holding his singing voice back, which I will kind of talk about more in the musical area of this video. But overall, I feel like Timothée Chalamet cared about it a lot. He reused such things that I remember Gene Wilder saying, and I don't know if it's in the book. I haven't read the book since I was probably 7 years old. So if anybody that's read the book more recently wants to, correct me, but, the scratch it, reverse it. I feel like that's something that might be something that Wonka says in the book, but I remember it from the movie mostly, and he says that a couple times throughout it, so I feel like he was partially inspired by Wilder's portrayal and watched it in preparation to be Wonka. I just feel like Timothy overall cared and did a fairly good job. As well as the other actors. Let's just go ahead, and since I'm talking about the main actor, let's go ahead and talk about basically the other main lead of this movie, which is a little girl named Noodle, I believe. Yeah. I had to look at my notes real quick. Her name was Noodle, and the actress that played her was quite amazing. I loved the actor that played Noodle. I quickly really cared about her and what happened to her, and like where were her parents and all of that going on, and I really found myself caring about what happened to her, especially towards the ending with a few with a few moments that happened. I'm not going to spoil anything. This movie is still fairly new, so I won't spoil Wonka. Don't worry about it. I do feel like she was a little bit more standout than Timothée Chalamet, and that might be a hot take. I'm sorry, the Timothée Chalamet stands. Don't come for me, girlies. Explain why you love him, please. Explain it to me, okay? All I know about him is that he's now Willy Wonka was in Dune. Apparently, a lot of girls love him. Are like he's just eye candy. Candy pun. Please don't kill me in the comments. Just explain to me, okay? I'm new here. Explain to me Timothée Chalamet and what he is to you, okay? I know there's a lot of diehard stans out there. All I know about him is that he's an actor and he's dating Kylie Jenner. All right? I see edits about him all the time. And especially there's another moment in the movie that I will also get into that I've seen really being edited on TikTok, and it's seeming like this really cool, like, badass scene, and it's really just a 1-second clip of him looking up at someone, and he's covered in like chocolate or something. But the girlies turned it into this huge moment. I was like, oh damn, this must be like a boss moment for him. It's got not. I don't know, but yeah, don't kill me, Timothée Chalamet fans. I think that the actress that played Noodle added a little more depth than his kind of airy, whimsical. She was very grounding as opposed to him, and I think I found her portrayal to be a little more enjoyable. Moving on. Let's go ahead and talk about the music. If you don't mind a lot of people breaking out into song, I think Wonka's fine. The songs in general are kind of lackluster, kind of eh. I mean, you've got Imagination at the end being a total banger, but there are some other songs in there, like Scrub, I found kind of enjoyable. I mean, I found it enjoyable. Other songs I kind of didn't find enjoyable. They were serviceable. They served the narrative, so they weren't that annoying. But I feel like the story is the thing that shines the most in Wonka. There's a lot of instances where I watch something and it's the songs that stand out the most to me and make me endeared to it more. But I feel like the story is the total standout when it comes to Wonka. So, if you do not mind people busting out in a song, flash mob style, and musical kind of format, Wonka might be up your alley. I feel like I'm gonna give the music alone kind of a 6-ish. Not bad, but definitely not any real standout performances song-wise to me, personally, but I wasn't annoyed by the songs, so halfway, I guess, on the songs. So, let's move on. Let's talk about the narrative. While the songs can be a little bit forgettable, the story and the acting is well done enough, and you find yourself invested in the stakes within the story. The twists, the turns, with a subtle callback to the other Wonkas, namely Gene Wilder seeming to be the huge one. I found myself thinking that Timothy must have watched Gene Wilder's portrayal in preparation for this role, but also being kind of airy and a little bit untoward in the way that Depp was a little bit in instances. Other clear nods being to, like, Imagination sung in the background of the musical score. The costuming was on point. Shout out to the costume creators in movies. They clearly deserve more. Shout out to any costuming department, theater or otherwise. Shout out to you guys. A cosplayer here, I don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all do it. Y'all have strength that I do not have. Yeah, you guys do not. Ugh. The costuming department deserves a round of applause, okay? There's very pretty shots in this film. It's very cinematic, especially there's one moment where Wonka and Noodle are hanging onto floating balloons and they're floating above the city. Oh, such a cinematic shot. Clearly beautiful film. Like, it's eye candy alone, if not for Timothee Chalmet. It's a feast for the eyes just throughout the whole movie, shot-wise. Just, beautiful. Now, a little kind of a tangent I want to go off on, kind of in the realm of Theoryland. Kind of in the realm of theories. One difference that I found about Timothée Chalamet's Wonka in particular is, hear me out. I did mention how I think he was kind of like a Mary Poppins type character, which we could also say the same for Pennywise, which is also a theory, is that Pennywise and Mary Poppins are the same creature. Look into that if you don't know about it. Anyway, kind of spouting off into Theoryland here. One thing I noticed is he's kind of coded to be on something? Or he's putting something in the chocolate? It's implied in such subtle ways, but I feel like they're trying to imply that he's kind of sneaking things. Like, if he doesn't have an edibles selection in the factory, I don't know, man. In the first few minutes of this movie, I think that they are implying that Tim's Wonka is on some kind of something, if you catch my drift. Like, a police officer sees him while he's singing the first song, and to him, Wonka's alone. Like, it shows Wonka dancing, and there's, like, all this color and confetti and just beautiful scenery. There's people dancing around him. And he's like the big, the main guy in the freaking piece. And then it shows the police officer, and then it shows what the police officer is seeing, and it's just Tim alone dancing in the middle of the street, acting a fool. Like, I don't know. And then there's another thing. He creates this chocolate called a Big Night Out, and there's an instance where he has to give it to someone, and what this freaking chocolate does, and, like, he will give people chocolates to do, like, Assassin's Creed stealth stuff throughout the entire movie. And these chocolates make people do the weirdest shit. Like this one called a Big Night Out, coming back to that. What it does is it simulates, and this is in his words, simulates the entire experience of a night out, of a big night out on the town. It's still super early. Of a big night out on the town within 5 or so minutes, including everything from feeling like you've drank so much champagne that you can't frickin' stand, you're making bad decisions like calling your ex, you're like stumbling around, and then you go into a really big sleep afterward. And this happens in like 5 minutes. I mean, come on, there's also one in the original movie that he also kind of brings over, and this one is like the fizzy lifting drink. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it's funny. Like, I'm not mad. I just think it's kind of funny to me. I mean, is he? Could he be? I mean, watching every single iteration of Willy Wonka is like he's kind of on every iteration of Wonka is on something. Being honest, every iteration seems like he's on something. But this one just seemed, I was like, okay. Like, I wasn't mad about it. I thought it was added a little bit more of an interesting thing to it. Like, he's just being, like, innocent and everything and wanting people to have a good time, but he's, like, putting things into the chocolate. I think it's kind of funny. But if you don't mind, the singing, the fact that this is a musical, the story outshines everything else in this movie. Timothée Chalamet, I think, is a good actor. First thing I've ever watched with him in it. Maybe I'll watch Dune. Maybe I won't. If you want me to watch Dune, let me know. Thank you. I'd much appreciate your suggestions at any time. Let me know those suggestions, whatever you want me to talk about down there in the comments. Let me know. I think Wonka was good. I thought in the beginning this movie was trash. I'm sorry I did. I'm sorry that I did. None of anything that I was prepared for or saw on TikTok was anybody talking about the music. I had no idea this was a musical. None. So, I had no idea. Normally, I get in a mood to watch a musical, like I did with Has Been Hotel. So, I was not expecting it to be a musical, and that kind of put me off, but I stuck with it, watched the rest of it. It was good. I'm giving Wonka a solid 8 out of 10. I mean, for the girlies, you got your Timothee Chalamet with your eye candy. For the more creative people, you got beautiful cinematic shots. The theater kids, y'all got some songs to bop to. It's good. Wonka's good. Give Wonka a chance if you got the time. Giving it a solid 8 out of 10. That's what I got for you guys today. If you've stuck around this long, hi. My name's Randomness. I don't just talk about movies. I also talk about TV shows, books. I do gameplay. I'm trying to bring back some older series that I have, like Haunted Histories, where I talk about haunted places and the histories behind them. I've got the intro made. So now I've just got to kind of line up a couple scripts for a couple videos and do the research into those places. And that's why those videos kind of take a little bit of a longer time, is because I do have to do the research into the places, watch multiple videos of people actually going to these places, and those can be like an hour to 2 hours long on their own for a single video. So it's a lot of research, and they take a little bit longer of a time. But yeah, Haunted Histories is coming back. Things are happening on this channel. I'm really excited to finally, be better and to start making content again. And I'm just glad that everybody has been so supportive recently. So yeah, if you want to join my journey here on the YouTubes, I don't know, hit the like and the subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Or bye. I don't know. It's still so fucking early. Bye.